welcome everybody. Welcome back to Exploring the Edges. We are fresh out of Ontario Women's Drum Camp.
Yep.
And the episode that we recorded that aired while we were at drum camp was so aligned. It really served. And for those of you who may not have watched, we were talking about the importance of energetic clearing and as highly sensitive people working with group energies.
Yeah.
And so we're really fortunate and blessed now to be on the other side of this huge experience, this big initiation, and really deepening into some of the teachings that we thought we were teaching about last week. And now we have a broader perspective to share with you guys this week.
Yeah.
So before we get started on some of the things that came in for us and some of the things that we're integrating, if we could just sort of pick up where we left off last week and really share some of those teachings. So we were talking about how important it is working with group energies to make sure that you really disconnect from the group. And one of the things that really came in for me personally following the Women's Drum Camp is where we might open circles or open connections with people and then not close them. So this felt like a really important piece of working in group energies. Just making sure that, you know, when we're calling in our ascended ancestors, that we're also releasing them in love and gratitude after our work is done. When we're calling in medicine to help us work in our spaces, releasing this medicine in gratitude and love. As we're calling in circles, making sure that we are seeing ourselves separate from that circle and releasing that, you know, that love.
Yeah, everything, you know, you call in the directions in opening circle, you close them in closing circle. Jenn did an amazing job of doing that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful to witness so many beautiful women in that space.
Yeah.
And just to really, it's so exciting to think about the ways that we are learning from people, even when we're not interacting with them directly or talking with them directly, even when we are just in their presence, you know, we're picking up in the way that they speak their words and the way that they hold their bodies. You know, we're always exchanging information and codes and love and wisdom. And yeah, it's really beautiful to start to see the way that we are taught even outside of like traditional teaching moments.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, for example, you know, watching her open the space.
Yeah, beautiful.
At drum camp, watching, you know, hearing the beauty and the integrity in the way that she did close it, you know. Queen, what an incredible...
Oh, amazing.
What an incredible teacher, you know. Feeling just even so many of the facilitators carry such deep medicine.
Yeah.
And some of the women have been organizing that drum camp for such a long time that it really shows in the way that they interact with everyone there. You know, they're carried by all of the love that's been in that space. You can tell that and something that you mentioned to me about drum camp, something that I'm sitting in because I celebrated my solar return at drum camp. Jenn's been going to drum camp for a really long time.
Yeah,
77 years.
2077 years, 2010, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just something that you've mentioned, which is that you get to revisit this same space in a new embodiment and sort of the tradition of coming back to this space and like, who are you this year? It being so different from who you were last year.
Yeah.
And really celebrating that. And similarly on my birthday, you know, this is a good place to check in. But yeah, I don't know if you want to speak about that.
Yeah, it's just amazing because last year, I mean, it always carries its own energy, right? It depends where you're at. It depends where the people, you know, you're interacting with are at. It depends on where the facilitators are at for the workshops that you take. And I feel like I had a very large activation last year, and we can talk about it. I don't know if this is the time to talk about it, but I had an activation in Queen's dance class, and we were dancing Dunum Lumumba, where I ended up like having a complete shamanic journey where I was like the mother bear and the baby bear. I was protecting myself. I was being protected by myself. It was like, I could get into it, but it's a long story, and it's just wild. And I feel like in many ways I'm still integrating it a year later, you know?
Sure.
And I've had this bear medicine like pop in and out throughout the year. And yeah, so it's just interesting because that experience was also significant in the sense that it was a catalyst. It was a huge catalyst for all of the work that I did in the summer. You know, after that, it was a catalyst for bringing me to, Sabrina was already in my field, occasionally popping up on Instagram or whatever for rewilding, brought me into that. It was a catalyst, and I don't know that I would have, if I hadn't had that experience, joined the group, done a couple of workshops, done the free activation, because I had done another free one and I couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
So she was already kind of in my field, and then this just shifted everything, you know? And so I do know that had I not had that experience, and this is the magic of being like in a container, if you can get yourself in a container.
Yeah.
If I would not have had that experience, I would not have had the same shifts I did over the summer last year. I would not have met you, Jack. I would not have continued this work in the same way, because I might have just left and just gone on my merry way, continuing in the same way. And that wasn't the intention of the workshop. You know, it was not the intention. The intention is always deep healing and transformation. And, you know, Lumumba's super, super powerful medicine. And I felt like I had really danced it for the first time and embodied it. But at the same time, I was a bear. It was wild. And so going from where I was the year before to experiencing that and having that shift. And then a year of this deep work. You know, deep work, rebirths, integration, you know, learning my own medicine. Can't list it all because we try and stick to 40 minutes, but you know, like a deep work this year, deep work this year. And then stepping back into the space, feeling completely different in my body, completely different in my energy, completely, you know, able to dance for others, not for myself. The way that I taught was the same in many ways. I think like from the surface, it's still really fun. It's interactive. It's all of the same things, but everything about me, although at the core I'm the same, is completely different. Everything feels different. The way I interact with people, the way I feel in the interactions. But then it also deepens the work that you're in while you're there, which I think loops us back to kind of being in a group and needing to separate from the group. And we spoke about it last week in our episode, which beautifully timed. We came home, could not have been better. This is the power of channeling. We're like, what needs to be aired on this week, and boom, you know. Done. So grateful. But just to, you know, to be able to witness myself and then be witnessed by people who are very important in my life, to feel truly seen. It was just super magical. And it doesn't have to be Ontario Women's Drum Camp. If you can get yourself into a container like this, it's just wild. And we worked the entire weekend. You know, I was facilitating djembe. Jack was doing energy work, but both of us were also outside of our time slots, really doing the work, and felt like an honor. It didn't even feel like work, you know. It just felt like a complete honor to be able to hold space, or to, you know, move energy, or to alchemize things for people, and just let it flow through and out down into the earth. And it was just wildly powerful. And then last week we talked about picking stuff up, feeling like a balloon, a staticky balloon or a sponge, and why you feel weird.
Before we move into that, and that's a beautiful, it's the right aligned direction to move in. I just want to hold a minute for you, Jenn, because this is such a powerful share. And as I celebrate you, it's been such a beautiful witnessing to watch you come into your medicine and to be part of that. And I just want to hold space now for everybody who's listening, because I know that you are feeling this too. And we forget to take a minute to think about how far we've traveled, how far we've walked. You know, we're making such big changes. And I just want to celebrate you and all the beautiful women around you, because it was so beautiful to see you in your environment.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, and you, like, so many, you know, so much growth and initiation also at this camp, you know?
Yeah.
Just beautiful to witness.
While you were speaking, I was thinking about how deeply connected I feel, not just in our work together and the way that we've started to do energy work together, the way we hold sessions together, but in the way that it feels like everybody at Ontario Women's Drum Camp had a very strong intention about why they were in that space. And it felt really beautiful to sort of link arms, you know, this metaphysical, multi-dimensional, multi-generational, ecstatic connection of really holding a space together. It felt beautiful.
Yeah, because it was not just the facilitators, it was not just the healing team, it was every single person there. Every woman there had felt like had big stuff that they were moving through or had moved through. And the presence, like, I've been going since 2010. And there's always presence, but this year it was something else.
Yeah, it is.
Like nobody, maybe, you know, but like it felt like not just in the interactions with me, but in the interactions that I witnessed, that nobody was like holding on to their own stuff because they may have been sitting in it before they were approached, and then it felt like they set it down and they were with that person, you know, even if it wasn't me interacting or you interacting.
Yeah, it's such a powerful medicine, just presence. Yeah, bringing your full attention and witnessing.
Is what we are all craving. Presence and connection, true presence.
Yeah, and being seen fully as yourself.
Yeah.
Having a safe container to really feel like you can be your full self. Yeah. And then having that loving witness.
Yeah.
I'm seen fully.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, and we will move into this other space.
Oh, sure, I'm not in a rush.
That we want to talk about. But even for me, a share that I'd love to share from that experience is that, you know, we did attend Dee Dee's ecstatic dance.
It was so good.
So much beautiful medicine in that space. And it felt really good for me, somebody I've struggled with like body image stuff my whole life, you know, to just be free, to really be dancing and flowing in the feminine, this like freedom of expression and movement. And then so many women approached me afterwards and were like, wow, I really enjoyed watching you dance. Yeah. And that's just such a, you know, it's sort of a way to check in with ourselves. Like, you know, I've also been doing a lot of intentional work.
So much work.
Yeah.
So much work.
Yeah. And so we have these really beautiful opportunities to be witnessed in community. And it sort of like helps shine that light back on. Yeah. Back on ourselves. And it also was so fun.
Yes. Oh, so fun. And Dee Dee and like just two of them drumming felt like 10 people drumming. It
20.
was incredible. Yeah, maybe more. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And just in terms of, I think it's like a big combination of like doing the work. No, I don't want to say it's a test because that's not the right wording, but you know, you do the work, and then you're gifted with a container that is safe. You know, like if you're always being like silly or goofy, or you want to wear tie-dye, or you want to wear whatever, and you can't wear that in your quote unquote like real life, your day-to-day life, going to work. For many people there, these are their few days to just truly be themselves. And it felt like the whole camp, you know, like people were not holding back, you know. 40% of the women who came this year had never been before. And everybody kind of just like stepped into it. Everybody was welcomed into it. It didn't feel cliquey, which I know was an experience for many of us growing up amongst women, you know. There can be a clique, you know, like, oh, you've been to camp before, I have to sit at a different table. It did none of that. I didn't experience or witness any of that. And maybe people had a different experience who were there, you know, like you can't see everybody. But it felt like very like open. Oh, what's your story? Welcome, you're new. And so it felt like a really safe container because you've done a ton of work and I've done a ton of work. but now you can go and you can dance and you can move because you're in this container where it doesn't have the energy of like, you should hold back. somebody's watching me. I feel self-conscious.
I was very aware that many people were watching me.
Yeah, but did you feel like this kind of like, somebody's watching, maybe I'll hold back? Did you have to push through that, or did you kind of feel like, if somebody's watching me, okay?
Yeah, it did feel like a beautiful gift that I could share into the space.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. Yeah, I mean, I say it every time I see you dance, how beautiful it is. I feel really lucky I get to witness it all the time. And for me, I felt like I was standing taller, I was standing stronger, I was more steady, you know? And when I danced Dunumba, that is not the same as ecstatic dance.
No.
Well, I'll tell you.
Much different.
Yeah. And to be able, again, because sometimes you think, it's a fluke, you know, like, I was just happened to be in this energy of this shamanic journey, and that's why. And maybe I'd see a video and be like what?
Who's that?
Well,
Is
or
that
even like, I thought it was faster. I thought I was like more on point with the move. Like, what is happening with my arms? You know, like, I don't know. There's not a video because it's medicinal, right? Yeah, it's not, you don't bring your cameras in that space.
Yes.
And like, you can think it's a fluke, but then to come back this year and dance again and still feel, you know, completely solid, completely in it, able to hold it, able to dance for the collective even, you know, it just felt wild. It still feels wild, and I'm sure I'll be integrating this for the next year, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I just feel very, very grateful for the experience and for everybody who came to my classes, everybody that I got to interact with, just by fluke, you know, had a beautiful conversation with a woman who just was her first year there and was sharing with me when I went to make a birthday card for you, you know, like, everything was just exact. Yeah. Everything was just exact. Yeah, it was really magical this year.
I feel the same way, and I just have a lot of gratitude for the women who did come in for sessions with me, because in every opportunity, there's, you know, I am being initiated the same way that, you know, I'm being gifted the same gift that I'm giving. And so just, a lot of gratitude.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah, well, thank you for listening to us. You know, listening to us speaking to our experience. I could go on. Yeah. But just wrapping it back around to this feeling like a staticky balloon or a sponge.
Yeah, because friends, we needed more than a shower clearing this time. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's true. And even deepening into our own practices, right? Because this is the way we hold, I've held the largest
me too.
collection of energy I've ever stepped into intentionally.
Yeah, me too.
And so this is the way that we walk, and so we were gifted with this deeper teaching around energetic clearing as we stepped out of that space. And do you have a good way to share what we did experience? Or
well, I'm not sure. I think, you know, we were speaking into in the last episode 17, highly sensitive people. And we were speaking into, you know, like picking things up and feeling like a staticky balloon, like collecting all of these like pieces of energetic dust, or a sponge soaking things up, you know? And I think that it can be in your physical and energetic body. And I do think that, like, when we came home, you did before, I did not have the opportunity at the camp to like separate from the group, but you did have an opportunity to do that.
Yes.
And when we came back, we did it. But there was still a lot. And again, you know, like, experience, right? Like, it was the biggest group that we'd ever intentionally held space for. And it just comes with lessons.
Sure it does.
You know? And I think the lesson was to not just say like, I'll clear after, you know? It's not just to like pick things up in a staticky way, or however you want to feel into it. And then say, I'll take a shower after, or I'll clear after. I think what I learned, and I think you too, maybe through me or just through the entire experience, because you're more, you know, experienced than I am in working in this way, is that to go into the space when you know you're going to be doing this kind of work or holding space or anything, or even if you're just entering it, you know, to go in intentionally and maybe set yourself up. So I don't know about bubbling, because I don't know if that's it for me, but if it is for you, then that's great. But just like with the intention of like protecting your own energy, protecting your own like energetic body, so that like maybe less can sort of latch onto you and stay. Maybe, you know, it's like water off a duck's back, or I'm not sure exactly. It's still like a big lesson that I'm gonna have to learn and see what it is, but go in with the intention that you'd be going into any other ceremony. Maybe, you know, like when we sit, we call in, and like I had already called in my guides because it was a long journey, and I always do before we get in the car and drive somewhere, you know, of significance to, you know, watch over us and keep us safe. But to maybe have like when we arrived, sit and just kind of like drop in and set up the container for the weekend or for the time that you're there, so that it feels like the entire thing is the ceremony that it ends up being, even though, you know, you're swimming in the lake or laughing or joking at lunch. Yeah. Maybe something like that, you know, so that it's, again, like an opening and closing circle, but for yourself.
Yeah. And I want to offer something into this space as well, because I think one of the gifts that we have in each other is that we're able to hold this duality. For me, that teaching around the clearing that we had to do once we came home, this is a teacher in itself.
Yeah, sure.
You know? So I sort of have gratitude for what did come. Yeah. Because it is a teacher as well, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Still a teacher.
Yeah.
And so I have some resistance just personally to bubbling or warding or any of this language, because I do think that it is exact. Yeah. And I think that when we, and I'm not saying that you're doing this.
No, that's what,
but I think
just something, I'm just trying to feel into like what is needed.
I do think that there are some people in the community who try to attract only certain types of teachers, right? The light bodies and the good vibes, and all of these sort of, and they're also teachers. Sure. And I think that sometimes, you know, because I'll share with you guys that Jenn, after drum camp, Jenn was on the couch and she was like, I think I'm too tired. I don't think I'll ever be able to eat again. I think I'm too tired to ever eat again.
This is a story that I was going to get into, where it might be your energetic or physical body, but it might not. It might be in something that you have, but I never did get there.
And so Jenn does wear these red bracelets. Yeah. And Jenn and I also wear a red bracelet. But Jenn does wear these because early in our journey, she felt like she needed a bit of containment, a bit of protection. Yeah. And so we did hold ceremony when the bracelets came in to infuse them with our prayers. And so so when Jenn was on the couch and she was like, I'll probably just never eat again because I'm too tired to ever eat again. And I was taking all of the crystals that had held space with me in my sessions. Yeah. I wear a head wrap. Yeah. We had the opportunity to share beautiful sisterhood and ceremony this morning. Just honoring that we were in that space today. That's why I still have my head wrapped. Yeah. Yeah, but when I'm in session, the entire time I was at drum camp, actually, I had my head wrapped.
Oh, mine was covered. I had bandanas, a different style, but same idea.
So I was in the middle of taking all of my crystals out. It was going to rain, and I was like, perfect opportunity to have these cleared. I'm going to take all my crystals outside. I let the rain clear them. So I'm taking my crystals out, and it just comes in. I'm like, Jenn, do you think maybe you need to take your bracelets off? She was like, oh, yeah, okay, maybe I'll take it. And as soon as you took your bracelets off, you're like, oh! Just like instantly back to life. Yeah. You know, it just couldn't have been like more clear, you know?
Sure,
it was almost funny.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was like, you know, like when they have to share the necklace in Harry Potter with the Horcrux, but it's not a Horcrux. But I think it is just because, like, sometimes it's your energetic and physical body that takes it on.
Yeah.
And other times it's an intentional piece of clothing. And, you know, like, even your earrings we needed to clear.
Yeah, and it's the first time I think I had ever thought afterwards, like, oh, okay, my earrings actually, and specifically, you know, some of the... I have these cocoa leaves from Peru, you know, like some of the pieces of jewelry I have, you know, and this also ties into what we've talked about before around handmade items, right?
Yeah.
Because grandmothers are making these earrings and they're weaving their medicine into these pieces. Yeah,
it's not just getting pumped out of a machine.
No.
It's like homemade bread versus Wonder Bread at the store,
and
you know?
you thought, like, oh, I should probably clear my drum, right? So anyway, we've had this tremendous teaching around being, and it also comes with being in this really expanded, open energy.
Yeah.
Our sensitivity has been just blown up because it's been, we had to stretch our containers to hold this bigger energy.
Yeah.
So as we've stretched our containers, just more has... So anyway, Jenn came instantly back to life as soon as we took the bracelets off. And then we went through this process of, like, really deepening into, like, okay, what is still in the space? Where can we feel it? What is the medicine that we need to call in to move it?
Yeah.
And this just ties right back into that episode around, like, sometimes sage is not the answer, sometimes it's bells, sometimes it's toning, sometimes it's your voice, your drum, your intention, sometimes it's just... Anyway, so we just deepened our teachings around those elements.
Yeah, but, like, I couldn't agree more for myself about the bubbling also. You know?
Sure.
Yeah, because it's not for everybody, and maybe you're not ready, and maybe it's just, like, not what you want or need, and that's okay. But, like, most of my teachings have been in these, like, really, like, wild experiences that are not, like, light and fluffy.
Right, you're right.
And so for me, it's not about that, but I think that it just took me a minute to get there, and I do think it is in treating it as ceremony. Like, we sat this morning, we were prepared for it, we held... It was completely aligned. Everything that needed to come in came in at the perfect time. So grateful for our friend who trusted us, you know, to go into those spaces. So much gratitude and love for her, you know. And then we ended, and it was deep work, deep work, but we finished. Clearing the space was easy. You were like, do you feel like you're carrying anything? No, you know, and I think it's okay to, like, not feel like you're carrying anything, but still, like, fully feel everything that you're in. And I think it's just going into drum camp, I didn't go into it with the same... Because I had never experienced it. I've been going since 2010. I've never experienced it in this way.
Sure. Because
I'm not the same, and I'm, you know, it's a different role. It's a different role just based on who I am as a person now. You know? Yeah. And where I sit with my own medicine. And what was needed and what I was able to provide based on my own gifts, you know? So it's just a completely different experience from 2010 when I was frolicking around like a camper and nobody knew who I was, and it's just sort of, you know, it's
now
just
you're
wild.
the Jenn Foley. The Jenn Foley.
Well,
that was
I'm told.
Yeah, that was my experience at camp. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, you're her girlfriend." I was like, "No, she's my girlfriend.
This is
you
true.
come to a session with me and you'll see."
Yeah. Yeah. And then come to a session with both of us. Yeah. So it was just truly magical, and just, like, so many lessons and so much gratitude for, you know, just so much gratitude. I can't even.
Yeah, and just being really, just holding gratitude for the path of initiation, like you said. You know, because it takes courage to walk into spaces that are meant to be transformational. It takes courage to walk into spaces where you know you have shit around it. You know, me personally, like, I've been, you know, shown a really big piece of what's needed for me to break through where I'm sitting at this level. I was gifted so many beautiful teachings by so many beautiful women in session, out of session. And so you're right, it's going to take us some time to integrate. And also, I wanted to say, Jenn, before we move away from this topic, that we were being guided loudly to clear the space, and we were not
Yes.
listening. And we both came home, we were like, the first thing that we need to do is clean the entire house. And we were like, wait a minute.
I was like, I need to do another purge, get rid of everything. And you guys who have been following along.
You know, we were like, actually, we don't have energy even to feed ourselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're gonna talk probably in the future about what an integration space looks like.
Yeah.
Because we learned a lot. I think we're getting to about a half hour, but we learned a lot about what we needed in terms of an integration space, what kind of care we needed for integration. And that really changed, I think, what we're calling in for the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spirit was loud. It was telling you, purge everything, purge. It's telling me clear, clean, and we're just like, oh, we're too tired to even eat. So.
Yeah, and then who was carrying deep, heavy stuff that wasn't hers? Me. Who had to do the clearing? Jack. I mean, I also had to do the clearing, but you know, like I was the one purging. You were the one like, it was.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Good times.
Yeah, but the truth.
It's just wild.
Yeah, the truth of the medicine is that the real truth of the medicine is that there's an energetic frequency associated with all of the emotions. And so we can feel into the energetic frequency of, even in the words, even in the limited English language that it is, we can feel into what like unity feels like, right? Unity. We can feel into hope. We can feel into love. We can feel into togetherness, compassion, freedom, liberation. We can feel what they feel like. And also we can feel like what grief feels like, what pain feels like, what despair feels like, being alone. What does it feel like? You know, these emotions, they also carry their own energetic frequencies. And so I think we could have a larger conversation one day about what was in the space that needed to be cleared. But really, truly, it is just that we all carry these deeper echoes, and depending on how much work we've done to meet them, this is what we're carrying. And yeah, of course, Jenn. And the thing that I said to Jenn afterwards is that, like, I'm so glad that it was with us. You know, I'm so glad that this energy was with us, because we can move it. Yeah. We can clear it. Sure. We have each other. Yeah. We have experience. We have practices. We have modalities. We have tools. We have a really beautiful spiritual team around us. Yeah. You know, like, I'm so glad it was with us and not somebody who may have come into camp and maybe is not set up as well as we are to embrace the teacher that energy is. Yeah, and who might not even realize, you know? Sure. Who might just go home from camp thinking like, oh, I had a great time, and like, oh, being here, being in my real life is awful. Being like, do you know what I mean? Because it was a heavy energy. It was a heavy energy, and I'm grateful that, like, because we can recognize that. That is not ours. Oh, it is loud, friends. I think I was cutting an apple, and the voice inside my mind was like, just turn that knife and just stick it into your stomach. And when I hear that, I'm like, oh, there's something in this space. There's something in this space. Yeah. Or even, like, we have a really, like, sketchy staircase. Yeah. And it's a great litmus test for when there's something in the space. Because when you walk by it and the space is clear and harmonic, you're like, la, la, la. You don't think anything about it. When you walk by it and the space is not clear, it's like you're gonna fall down those steps. Yeah. You're like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Something's here. We need to work through it. Yeah. What is here? What is the teacher? Yeah, and just feeling like really grateful for all of it, you know? Yeah, for all of it. For all of it. So much gratitude. Yeah, so I'm grateful that you brought it home. Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. And I'm grateful for the teaching, because I had not really worked with crystals before in session. Yeah. I've had many sessions, but I haven't really set up, you know, like I put black tourmaline at the foot of the bed, and I had some selenite, and I had my beautiful, I just had a beautiful altar that I set up. Yeah. And, you know, in the space, you can't really feel the power of that. But as soon as we got home and started unpacking... Oh, you mean like at drum camp when you were treating, you had this space set up just to clear things up. Yeah. In sessions at drum camp, I had this space set up. And then when we came home and started unpacking, I picked up that black tourmaline. And I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. We gotta get this outside. whoa, my God.
Yeah.
And just so much gratitude for the ways that we're supported, both in the physical realm and in the spiritual realms. Just, you know, even your bracelets and like our head wraps, and, you know, I wear a belt over my womb. And,
you don't even realize it till you take it off.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a slow build.
But
it's a slow build, right? And you carry it and you're still like feeling good. Yeah.
Slow build is exactly the thing that I was just thinking, because it is like, you know, in my own work as a healer, as a space holder, as a ceremonial offering, you know, the more that I can bring in from my past experiences, from my devotion to my gifts, from the community that I've cultivated around me, to, you know, bringing in more and more and more and more. This is why I can hold the spaces that I hold now. And it's so important to start at the beginning, right? Because I would not be able to hold these spaces if I had not had that slow build. If I had not showed up the very first time I held space for somebody else, like scared to death, feeling like an imposter, feeling like a fraud, feeling like a crazy person. You know, like I've been taught in every single session that I've held. And so it's really important to, and you know, one of the things I told Jenn is that one of the shamans told me in Bali, you know, she said, like, you're going to be taught by the sessions that you give. And that's where the teaching is. And I was like,
experience.
and I was like, I don't think so. Like, I'm going to really hurt somebody. I need to make sure I'm ready. And then I spent a good long year making sure I was ready, right? But stepping into these experiences, you know, in every, you know, maybe you just have a pure medicine heart and a crystal. And this is enough. Start holding space.
And you have, your integrity is huge, hugely important.
You too.
You, but also like the universal you, you know, like walking in with integrity and saying
intention.
I'm capable of holding space. I just did it today, you know. I know I'm so capable of holding space. I can hold a massive space. I don't know about the energy work. And then had the opportunity and like learning in it and having that trust and being able to like do some like, not that because holding space is doing the work. Anybody who has held space, you know. But just to be able to step into a different role for the first time, and that would have not happened had I not gone and sat in the space. Saying, you know, I'm here to serve the greatest good. I'm here to help you. I'm here to, like, all of these things. Whatever I need to do to help, you know.
But this is the slow build.
This is the slow build, exactly. Exactly.
Because as soon as, you know, and you can sort of trace back to where the catalyst was for some of your work. But, you know, it goes even further beyond that.
But you have to trust yourself, even if it is trusting in your integrity, even if it is trusting in, even if you don't fully know about your abilities, you know, like you have to have this trust that, like I hold an integrity.
But
that's a big one.
You can also trust this voice of I'm not ready. And then it's your job to say, okay, where am I not ready? What do I need? Where do I not feel? Where is it? You know, and like really chasing down that rabbit.
But sometimes you're not going to know until, like, you could read all the books you want about how to drive a car, and unless you get behind the wheel, you know, and so it's like that. So it's important to go in, and maybe you can go in with somebody who has more practiced hands.
And this is why.
And sit, and then like let it come up and go, like I don't know that would have opened up in the same way had I not had the opportunity.
And this is what infuriates me about the war on fake healers. You know, because I really do think that everybody is beginning exactly where they're meant to. And if they think that they're far along on the path and they're hurting people in space, this is the teacher. You know, like sometimes our greatest lessons come in these spaces where we're hurt, or where we need our own discernment to kick in and say, wait a minute, this happens with us all the time. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's with somebody you trusted, a teacher you trusted. Your discernment comes in and says, this is not it. And it's painful, but unless we walk those paths as both healers and both healing, unless we walk the path, we're not going to be able to navigate that. And so I just feel incredibly blessed to be in a space where I am, where I'm being met in the way that I am, you know, I cried for like a half hour after my last session, just for the trees.
Yeah.
Just for the trees that held that space. You know, I could feel them. I could feel the energy. I could feel the magic. And I have not, you know, felt it that deeply before.
Yeah.
You know, or even with the crystals, like so much gratitude for this tourmaline.
Yeah.
You know, right? Because it's not sitting in my womb.
Yeah.
Or yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so really feeling into, like, you know, being able to bring in deeper support, to hold deeper space, to hold deeper transformation, being able to work together with you in a way that's braided.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, braided. That is so perfect.
Yeah.
If this is how it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the last thing that maybe we can say, because we're getting close to the end of the episode, the last thing that I want to say is that we've been shown following this drum camp by so many people that the pure love that we hold, not just for each other, but for ourselves and for the collective and for the mother, people can feel it. You know, it changes the room, it changes the environment, it changes the table. And we know that in every one of those moments where we're being witnessed in our truth, that it's shaping the collective. And when we have the courage to hold this deep love, and people have been fucking triggered by it. People are like, oh, this is gross.
Yeah, it can go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been like name called, and so it feels like when we have the courage to hold this true love, you know, it reminds people that this level of devotion, this deep love, it is still alive, it's still possible. And so I just invite our audience to really listen when I say that every time you bring your true self, and whether you're bringing love or you're bringing compassion, you're bringing understanding, you're bringing softness, you're bringing presence, you're bringing silliness, whatever you're bringing that's yours, it changes everything. We're exchanging codes and emotions and blueprints and downloads and uploads. We're growing the field, we're expanding, we're holding hands, and we're exchanging in every moment. And so even where you feel like you may not be received, like you're changing it in every moment. The people that have been the most triggered by us and have called us the worst names, they've probably gotten the most medicine from it, right? Because now it's working its way. It's working its way through. Yeah. You know? And that also is a blessing. Yeah. It's such a blessing to be witnessed in love. Oh my God, you guys are so in love. Yeah. It changed my experience. Yeah. It's beautiful to be witnessed in that way. And it's also beautiful to know that where we've been witnessed, that anytime there's big emotions, it's because there's something there. Exactly. So it's okay to receive both of them, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah, just stay strong in yourself. Yeah. And don't let those big emotions, when they're negative, try not to let them influence you to retreat. You know, because I think it's easy, and I think it's maybe the intent. You know, like when a dog comes at you barking, you know, out of fear, because it's not always aggression. They can go hide underneath the table and retreat, or charge. Yeah. Either way is to create space. They want you to back up. Yeah. Right. And so if somebody is charging at you, and their intent is to create space from whatever you are holding that they can't handle, because this dog can't handle it, right? That's the way it's coming. They can't handle it. You don't have to retreat into yourself and go, oh, I'm too much. I've shown too much. You are not too much. Yeah. You are not too much. No. All right? You are not too much. And so remember that. Remind yourself. And if you're blessed enough to have people surrounding you to tell you the same thing, hold it and keep walking, because somebody's always going to be telling you you're too much, but you are not too much. Yeah. Yeah. And I also really appreciate the women around us and this experience, because we've been stepping into really big stuff. And so I appreciate the women that have had the courage to say, like, hey, I see you guys.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. You know, because that also takes courage. It's vulnerable. And so where you can, if you see somebody standing in their truth, and you think, wow, this is beautiful, you just tell them.
Yeah, say it out loud. Say it out loud.
Yeah, you tell them.
Make it weird.
Yeah, make
just
it
do
weird.
it. Say it out loud. Oh, it's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so just coming into this space we're in, huge activation, big initiations, really full energetic bodies, deep gratitude, lots of momentum, letting it carry us forward while we're here. We're looking forward to the new moon in Cancer.
Oh, it's going to be huge.
Coming up June 25th, feeling into this window. We've just celebrated the summer solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere. Letting this be a fertile ground. What seeds are we planting? What have we learned based on our experiences that we need, that's needed? What have we learned? What are we able to give? It's been so beautiful to move into service.
Yeah.
And it's been so beautiful to move into it with you.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm so grateful. I'm so ready.
Yeah.
I'm so ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so much gratitude to you.
To you.
And to everybody who's listening, who sits with us. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, just hoping you can feel this deep love and gratitude.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us this week. I hope you've been charmed a bit by our wild tales.
Yeah, find yourself a container. Even if we're your little piece of Tupperware this week, you know, leave a comment. And if you don't want to leave a comment, there's an email address below.
Yeah.
If you need somebody to hold you, if you need somebody to say, you know, like, this is where I'm sitting.
Witnessing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, we can witness you. We would love to witness you.
Yeah. And the world needs it.
Yeah, the world needs you, friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much love for wherever you're at on your
Yeah,
journey.
you're doing amazing.
Oh, next week feels like it's going to be just... It's Jupiter. It's this Jupiter energy just expanding our emotional state. Yeah. Okay. I'll talk to you next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.